Hello, and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. Who are my friends today? Oh boy, I need to get my energy up. Energy! Okay. We've got Vince.
So, we're in the Endgame, are we? I guess it had to be. That's a quote from this comic.
It is a quote from the comic. We're not talking about Avengers Endgame, don't worry. Why would people worry? Hey, Chris has something to say. Chris.
Refusing to turn into my future self for 34 years.
Great.
I'm consider that, gentleman, and give my regards to hell.
I'm already getting loopy. This episode just started. I am going crazy here. This is Avengers Forever we're talking about. The second half. We did the first 6 issues last time. We're doing the next 6. 7 through 12 this time around, finishing up this mini series from, what do we say, late 90s, early 2000s.
This is episode issue 7 is from June 1999, so almost exactly 20 years ago.
Wow. And written by Kurt Busiek, Carlos Pacheco, did the art. And yeah, we talked a lot about it last time, and we will continue the story this time, doing what we can to recap everything for you. Also, last time we finished our long read of Marvel's Secret Wars from the 80s, and so for our bonus issue this time, we are going to, unwind from Secret Wars, talk about it a little bit, and we will read Uncanny X-Men number 183, which has a little bit of an epilogue from Secret Wars in it. I think we're ready to jump back into Avengers Forever here. So what do people need to know in case they didn't listen to the first half of this, like a bunch of idiots? Why are you an idiot, listener? Please go listen to that episode so that you know what's going on. I guess we're supposed to recap it, though, right? Just can we recap it for me? Because I don't remember what's happening.
So, yeah. So, basically, the Avengers have, from different points in time, have been plucked together to fight Immortus, who's going to destroy all of time and wants to kill...
And who is Immortus?
Immortus is a time traveler. He's the older version of other classic Avengers villain, Kang the Conqueror, and also Young Avenger Iron Lad. That's an even younger version of him.
And you said that Immortus wants to kill Rick Jones, yeah?
Yes, because he's got something involved. I forget now, but
Destiny power?
He's got the Destiny power from the Kree Skrull War. Why aren't you a dummy? Why didn't you listen to episodes 98 and 99? Come on. From the Kree Skrull War, which happened in the early 70s. There was a prologue at the very beginning to show that there was some evil Avengers that took over the world and take over worlds and destroy planets. But we've got 1960s Hank Pym the day before his wedding to Jan. We've got Captain America right after Nixon shot himself.
Yeah, 70s Cap, 60s Goliath / Hawkeye.
Yeah. We've got future Songbird and future Captain Marvel, which is actually Gene Isfell at this time.
Yeah, and weird Kree alien dude who's sparkly.
Yep.
And also, did we mention Yellow Jacket, who is a Hank Pym from another timeline, who is...
That's 60s Hank Pym. There's also there's also a present day Giant Man.
Yes, late 90s Hank Pym.
Yes.
Yeah, but basically everybody's just teamed up from different points in time, and they're going to stop an evil time traveler from doing something.
No one from the 80s, curiously.
It's okay. We'll read a comic from the 80s later. We'll get our fix in.
We'll get our 80s film.
So I think we're going to go pretty quickly through the first few issues here, because number 7 was kind of a lot of recap. The team has just finished up their splitting up, and now they're back together. And really the big thing that happens in this issue is that Yellow Jacket, who has been a bit of an asshole the whole time, finally just joins Immortus and says, "Yeah, sure, I'll work with you."
I mean, so what they end up doing is they're like, "We're going to storm the castle." We defeated. They each went in the previous issues. They went to 3 different time periods: the Old West, the future, and somewhere else. And in the 50s, where Nixon was a Skrull.
Nixon was a Skrull, and Nixon is a Skrull.
And so they're like, "Okay, well, we defeated our levels. Now it's time to fly to the Wily Castle, aka Immortus's palace in Limbo, and then they all get immediately split up, and they all have to confront their past in like a fucked up weird way. Like Captain America meets Nick Fury, who tries to like discourage him and make him more sad. And, and
I love the art choice of every image of Nick Fury. He's in a different costume.
Oh, really? I didn't even.
So he goes from like spy
Sergeant
Nick Fury
and his
to Sergeant Fury to being like Shield Nick Fury. And so it's like if you are even just looking at the art, you're like, well, obviously, like they're messing with him, but Cap's like, oh, you almost had me going.
Well, because I like Nick Fury. He's like, it doesn't matter if they're called Secret Empire or AIM or Hydra or whatever. They're Nazis. Whatever they choose to call themselves, they're Nazis. And I'm like, Nick Fury's got it. He's on the ball. He knows.
Nick Fury knows.
But Songbird is being confronted with, you were used to be a villain, and so you're a bad guy. Do you think you'll ever be a good guy? And they call her Melissa Joan Gold. And I'm sorry, but there's only one Melissa Joan, and that's Hart.
No, her name is Melissa Joan Gold. I'm sorry.
There's only one Melissa Joan.
Yeah,
well,
the difference is she's the Jewish Melissa Joan, Vince, instead of the Christian Melissa Joan.
Oh, okay. Please explain it all. I got it.
Oh my god. They've taken away Sabrina anyway. She's not Sabrina anymore. So now she's not Melissa Joan anymore. Done. Yeah. Now she's just got to be Clarissa for the rest of her days.
Hawkeye fights Tempest, who looks like, I've been watching the 1997 Disney Hercules a lot with my son Bruce, and so he just looks like a Titan out of there. I don't know if Tempest actually figures in.
I don't remember any of this.
And Yellow Jacket's like, you know what? My future sucks. Like, I'm gonna be a shitty dude. Everybody's mean to me because they know I'm gonna turn into a shitty dude. My life sucks. So basically, he pulls what Joe Pantoliano from The Matrix does. He's like, I just went out. Just let me, just give me that pill, pull me out, and I'll help you, and we'll be cool. And Immortus is like, cool, that's a good deal. And then the team escapes Limbo, but not without the earliest Hank Pym, Yellow Jacket. But they get back to the Sphinx, which is their time machine, and Rick Jones has left.
And Captain Marvel does kiss Melissa. I mentioned in the last episode that there's a bunch of hints that like they're a couple, but he doesn't want to say anything, and so he pays off. He's like, "Oh yeah, we're a couple. I didn't want," and she's like, "Oh, why didn't you say anything?"
I found myself most invested in Captain Marvel and Songbird, not for any like real reasons in this issue, but because I've read more stuff of theirs surrounding these issues. So. The Captain Marvel stuff I really enjoyed more than anything else. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, by the end of this, I was feeling like it really could have been almost any Avengers plucked from throughout time, except Captain Marvel had to be there. And really, that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is really, there's a few things that this is setting the table for, and it's definitely setting the table for a Captain Marvel ongoing series.
Yeah, which I've read and I really liked, so that's why I like this stuff.
Because I did not feel very invested in any of these characters or their struggles at all, except for Songbird. She kind of disappears in the back half of these issues we're talking about, but she's the most interesting character to me out of all these.
Hell yeah. You would love the Thunderbolts.
I always liked her a lot in the Thunderbolts, so I wish she had joined the Avengers for real. I always thought it was a shame that she really didn't.
I think she did, actually. I think, but more recently, within the last 10 years or something.
Right. She'd be cool in the movie. She's got a cool costume, cool hair.
Cool power.
And really useful powers, yeah.
Well, so this is our official beginning of a petition for Songbird to be in Endgame. I haven't seen it yet. Don't tell me if she's in it.
She's going to be added to Endgame.
Our petition.
I am the petition.
Yeah, well, it's just the DLC they add to Endgame. It's part of if you buy the season pass.
They should be able to add DLC to movies. That would be a horrible future that we.
Yes.
Content
packs.
Didn't George Lucas do update patches for his movies?
Yeah, everyone loves them.
Yeah, so I think we're headed in the right
year
direction.
edition.
Yep. All right, so on to issue 8. This is I have written down Space Phantom retells Immortus' viewpoint.
Well, it starts out a little earlier because in issue 7 they were talking about Mantis, who I know from the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and she had this synchro staff, and they're like, "That's dumb." but they steal a synchro staff at some point, and then it actually is a Space Phantom, and everybody's like, yeah, that makes sense.
It's like a dude turned into a stick.
Yep.
But everybody's very nonplussed by it. They're like, yeah, that makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's one of those shapeshifters. He was a stick.
Yeah. Yeah, to me, it's kind of like it goes beyond narrative coincidence because they're like, everyone who lives in limbo too long becomes a Space Phantom, but also I'm the Space Phantom that you fought like 20 times. It's just like, okay, that's two coincidences too far.
Yeah. And didn't they just meet a whole bunch of Space Phantoms?
Yes. So it's just like, you just say they have like a shared memory or something. Like, you don't have to say like, oh, by the way, like I have all the expository information you need, and I fought you 20 times.
Wow, poor Space Phantom.
So
it's very silly.
Yeah. So the Space Phantom gives like a full recounting of Immortus' history with the Avengers, which I'm assuming is just to bring us to speed for stuff that all really did happen in Avengers comics.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And Thor comics.
Okay.
There's a lot of, including the only, I think at the time, only previous appearance of, although they might have appeared in an issue of Fantastic Four, appearance of the Timekeepers, who I don't know if we mentioned that they've appeared here. That's
they're really the important part of this back half here. Like in this issue, we find out that Immortus is just working for the Timekeepers. They're they're like the Watcher, but there's a few of them, and they're Timekeepers.
Yeah, they're Immortus's bosses. And they appeared in an issue of Thor in, I think, the late 70s or early 80s, written by Mark Grunwald as part of the Time Variance Authority. And basically, it's their job to sort of, keep the multiverse in check, so it makes sense what they're doing. And yeah, this is all in continuity, and so this is all he's reinterpreting, like, oh, this is why we made Thor lose his time travel powers. This is why we made we pushed Scarlet Witch into a relationship with the Vision because we didn't want her to have kids.
Oh, yeah, out of nowhere in these few issues, there's a whole lot of stuff about the Vision and how the original Human Torch android is the Vision or something like that. And I got a little lost because I don't know too much about all that, and it kind of came out of nowhere. Yeah. And then I forgot about it because it kind of disappeared without a trace.
Yeah. He's trying to fix this like big plot hole that John Byrne introduced in Avengers West Coast when he reintroduced the original Human Torch as a guy who was alive, and it didn't make any sense. But it's just like Immortus was manipulating people and doing all these things, and also magic.
Yeah.
Also magic.
I like how at the end of this issue, though, Captain America of the 70s goes, all that really happened?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it did.
Yeah.
That and then like there's a lot.
There's a whole big thing about how Avengers of the Crossing never happened, which I'm sure neither of you guys have read Avengers of the Crossing. It's really bad.
You mentioned it last episode.
Yeah, I've done an issue-by-issue review of it back when I was doing a comic book blog about 6 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago. And it is really stupid. It is basically, as they sort of describe it, it is Kang manipulates Iron Man into murdering Avengers and framing Hawkeye. But they're like, no, that wasn't Kang. And his children in the story, because it's Kang and Mantis in the comic, and their children, one of whom is very heavily hinted to be Luna from the Inhumans. But they're like, no, those were all Space Phantoms, because it was actually Immortus. And so you're like, so none of that actually happened.
Yeah. So did we also find out in these issues that, the very beginning, first issues of Avengers, when the Hulk goes crazy and brings a team together, that the Hulk was also a Space Phantom?
No, that was the first appearance of the Space Phantom, which was, I think, in Avengers, 2 or 3. One of the earliest appearances, and it was one of the reasons Hulk left the team.
Oh.
Because he's like, you guys don't trust me. And so...
I remember now, yeah.
Yeah, and then literally that issue ends because the Space Phantom tries to jump into Thor, and he's like, no, he's too powerful, I'm going back to Limbo. And then he just gets sent back to Limbo himself instead of Thor.
What a dumb Space Phantom. Man, he got himself sent back to Limbo.
Yeah, and like that's the end of the issue. It's those early Avengers issues are terrible.
All right, so then we get on to issue 9, which is really the same thing, but Kang retelling all of his history from his standpoint and making sense of his crazy time-traveling appearances.
Yeah, and this one is, to me, not as good.
Oh, no, this one I kept nodding off during. I was like, because I liked the previous issue with Immortus so much, I was like, this issue's really good. This is a good recap. I like this because I don't know a lot of the things, but the story's fun to hear, and this is the kind of stuff I would have loved as a kid. And then I was like, oh, now it's a Kang issue, and then I'm like...
Yeah, not so good.
So we won't harp on it too much. None of it actually matters because it's all just in the past and making sense of who Kang is and why he is.
So I have a question. This is a side tangent. Structurally, does it make sense to do this much of an exposition dump 2/3 of the way through your story?
No.
I don't think so. I mean, I feel like one issue doing this is okay.
Yeah.
Like, I would have preferred some kind of a back and forth with Immortus and Kang, like showing the duality of their nature. Is that a buzz phrase? Yes.
Yeah.
But I think that would have really worked as kind of a way to get the Avengers up to speed and for Kang to fill in. I don't even know who Kang is talking. Oh, he's talking to Rick Jones in this, right?
Yeah.
And the Supreme Intelligence, they like form a team. Yeah.
Yeah. At the end, at the first half, he's talking to no one.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh, I'm kind of tired.
He's just talking.
Yeah. It's, I mean, to me, that this issue, because I don't think Kang on his own is very interesting.
No.
No, but, he's more interesting when he's got like Ravonna and some of the other characters to bounce off of.
Yeah. He's, like even like compared to like Doctor Doom, I think he's like not that interesting by himself.
Yeah. I think we can move on to issue 10. Yeah.
I do like the end of that issue where Rick Jones and the Supreme Intelligence show up, and he's just like, so it's the three of us against Mortis and everyone, and he's like, yep, that's about the size of it. And he's like, perfect.
Yeah. So somehow, who sends them time traveling? The Avengers crew. They end up in that terrible future where, like, the future Avengers are this stormtrooper task force team.
Yeah. They're like in the 26th century and they're evil. Yeah. And I mean, this is something the Timekeepers are also trying to prevent because apparently humanity's a scourge that will just will destroy everything.
And they think John's Ricard is related to Rick Jones, but do you think he might also be related to Prez Ricard?
I think about that. I did think about that.
Definitely.
I don't know. I think he might be.
I think he's more likely to be related to Prez than he is to Rick Jones. They have different last names.
Yeah, right? Like, maybe their lines have crossed.
Like, why? Like, I get that you're trying to do a descendant of Rick Jones thing by making a different name, but then don't change his last name, you know?
I also like that they're like, why do they see us as villains? Like, because they don't see us as heroes. They see us as the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. The old school Guardians of the Galaxy with Yondu and his bow and arrow.
Yeah, and Michelle Yeoh and Sylvester Stallone and Ving Rhames.
Yeah.
Are we ever going to get that movie?
I kind of would love to see it. I kind of would.
It would be fun as like a prequel. I don't know how they could do it.
They could do it like the Night of the Doctor. They did that the Doctor Who thing. Do you remember that, Kiek?
Yeah.
Where they basically, there was one Doctor Who only got a TV movie and he didn't get a full season, and then they gave him like a short that basically acted as like his series finale if it had gone like 7 years, and so they gave it the Doctor Who from the 90s like his own finale. I was like, that'd be cool. They just did little shorts with the Stallone, Michelle Yeoh, Ving Rhames. That'd be fun. Or actually, honestly, if James Gunn just said, fuck it, I can do Guardians of the Galaxy with any cast, with any characters, I'll make it work. I would love to see it.
So they find out that Yellow Jacket betrayed them. They have a meeting with the Timekeepers out in that terrible future. And the Timekeepers want to like put them on trial to stand for humanity.
Because everybody loves tribunal scenes where it's rigged against our heroes. Every kid loves those scenes. They're just so much fun, right?
Why do they happen always? Always.
I was hearing somebody was talking about like past Avengers movies compared to like the comics. Like, and a lot of like these comics have these like Shakespearean flourishes with a lot of pomp and circumstance, and like the MCU movies have like dispensed with all of that. They don't have any of those kind of sequences. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably why I like them a little bit more, because I do not like tribunal scenes. I hate these. They suck.
I feel like the DC cartoons gave us a lot of those as well, but I like them in the DC cartoons.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Maybe they're just done well. But I like how the Timekeepers are like, we're going to destroy most of the timelines, because in 40% of the timelines, humanity just like wrecks everything. And Captain Marvel's like, that's bullshit. Like, mathematically, there's still like 60% of us that are fine. Like, just destroy them.
And someone else says, also you Timekeepers admitted that some timelines you go bad. So, like, kill yourselves then. What's up?
So they fight, of course. And then the cliffhanger is that Rick Jones and Kang show up to save the day with the Supreme Intelligence in their truck bed.
Yeah, that's great. That's my favorite. It's like even better in the next issue where the whole team is together riding the car and he's in the back of the truck.
That's my panel of the week. I knew Chris was farther ahead reading it than you were, Kia, so I didn't text it to both of you, but I just texted that picture to Chris and I just wrote, hell yeah.
That's panel of the year right there.
That's really fucking good. What's the quote on it? It's like, Kang. Let me find the quote exactly. It's Giant Man goes, Kang, yeah, Kang, Rick, the Supreme Intelligence on a dune buggy.
Yeah, that's what he says. That's what Clint says.
It's amazing.
It's good stuff.
And like Kang is like double fisting guns. It's amazing. I love it.
I just picture it in like The Simpsons, where it's just like, oh, Barney, where it's just like everybody is like, Kang, Rick, the Supreme Intelligence.
I love it. Hell yeah.
So then the next issue is like giant fight scene. Immortus is like, hey, wait a minute. I'm not going to let you kill the Avengers. So the Timekeepers dissolve him.
That's great. He's just like, wait a minute. And he just takes the little crystal away and they're like, no. Like, and then just melt him into a skeleton.
Yep.
This is the Destiny War, by the way.
No, this is the Destiny War, yeah.
And also, I love that, like, Mortis can still show up in any other issues. He's a time traveler. We just can't kill him. Yep. We've killed him. That's the last point for Immortus, but we can still keep going.
Yeah, and I love that the Timekeepers are like, well, we can't kill you, Kang. You've got us. It's like a real catch-22 for the Timekeepers, where they're like, damn it.
What do they try to do? They do try to like turn him into Immortus, right?
Yeah, that's their plan, is to like force age him.
Is there ever an explicit point in any Avengers comics where Kang does turn into Immortus? Has that ever been shown? Or is this the closest we got?
I mean, I think this, as far as I know, this is as close as they've come to like explicitly having him turn into Immortus.
And the Timekeepers bring in all the Avengers from the bad timelines to fight him. And Giant Man calls them the B-Vengers as opposed to the A-Vengers. I love it.
Oh, that's cute.
It's so dumb. I love it.
So a bunch of villain Avengers from different timelines with cool designs. And Captain Marvel says, okay, I know what I got to do to win this thing. And we find out that Captain Marvel from the future is bonded to Rick Jones from the future. And so when they do their Shazam thing and, swap
twin powers activate.
Rick would come into this universe and Captain Marvel will leave. And so he does that, except it's like an old man Rick who's lost an arm. Is he wearing Superman's cape, by the way?
It looks a bit like it. Yeah, I did.
Like that logo that's cut off? Yeah. And so old man Rick shows up and teams up with regular Rick. And together with their Destiny Force powers, they're going to save the day. And that's what issue 12 is all about, just kind of continuing the big fight.
Yeah.
And At some point during all this, like Rick Jones gets killed by the Timekeepers, right? He's dead. That happened. Didn't that happen?
Yes, he did. He did get killed.
Yeah.
But it's okay because he ends up being fine. He ends up being fine.
He ends up being fine, but he does get killed somewhere in the middle of it.
But he uses the Destiny Force to win, but he sacrifices himself to do it.
Right, that's what happens. Yeah, he sacrifices himself.
And then
they bring all the good guy Avengers from all the different good guy timelines. So it's all the good guys versus all the bad guys.
And Cap gets the time crystal, and he reflects on what he could have done, like save Bucky, or kill Hitler, or kill Nixon.
Oh, but that would remove free will and choice, and
he could have punched Hitler as a baby.
Yeah. And then so he breaks the crystal, and Kang calls Cap a mouth-breathing fool. What an insult! I love it. And then another Immortus rises, and like actually Immortus is fine. He's just younger now and a little sexy.
Yeah.
And then Kang is like, I didn't learn my lesson about like not becoming Immortus, and then he just fucks off. And they're like, damn it, we did almost caught him. Like I think is it Clint that's like, I had him in my hands. Damn.
Yeah, I thought it happened a little faster. Damn it.
Yeah, it's kind of creepy when Immortus comes back because it's just like that looks a lot like the Immortus that Captain Marvel, formerly Ms. Marvel, when she had a son and then it was like, oh, I'm in love with my son.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he looked like.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Let's move on.
So we also have Rick Jones, who is dead. But who gets to use their powers? Libra?
Oh, no.
Libra has
Captain Marvel saves him. Genus Vel saves him with his negabands.
Right, but it needed somebody to like give him permission or like something like that. I don't know. Libra is hanging out doing his weird like.
Honestly,
we mentioned him this episode.
Honestly, none of the Zodiac stuff needed to happen. It could have just
been gone.
It did
not. No, not at all.
One more draft and he would have been gone.
Steps into Rick Jones's body, and Rick Jones is back to life, and now he's bonded with Captain Marvel. Hey, look at that!
Is that what happened with Rick Jones in the original Captain Marvel? Is one of them like saved the other one from dying?
I don't know.
Because they kind of hinted that in the language that's something that happened with the original Marvel.
When you're talking about the original Captain Marvel, are you talking about the movie?
No, I'm talking about Marvel.
Rick Jones is not in the movie.
I'm talking about Annette Bening.
No, you're talking about the original. Alien and Rick Jones. I don't remember.
Okay.
The Alien and Rick Jones. That's a good name for a miniseries. Everyone goes home. It's the end of the war.
They're gonna forget.
Songbird is home. Hank is home. Jan is home. Yeah, they're all home.
Yeah. Fortunately, Songbird is in a world where Disassembled didn't happen, which is a better world than the one we live in.
Not like this. That was my first Avengers comic. And they're like, an Avenger will die, and I'm like, I don't know who Jacka Hearts is. I don't care. And even then I was like, and Vision I think died in that same issue, and I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. I felt bad. And then Hawkeye died like 2 issues later.
In a really stupid way.
but I mean, it does this trick that Disassembled did the same thing that this comic does that I really love is like every Avenger is together. Just draw all the Avengers. That's such a trope, and it works so well for me. He's like, let's just look at the 500 people who have ever been Avengers, and they're all going to be teamed up together. And I'm like, let's do it.
It is pretty cool that there have been that many Avengers, and that somewhere there's a list of all of them, and people have to remember that list by heart. I think that's the hazing
and then
ritual
people
to get into Marvel.
argue like, nah, Squirrel Girl's never been an Avenger. She was an honorary Avenger when she was babysitting Luke Cage's and Jessica Jones's daughter.
Counts.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let's get back. Are we done with? I
think we're done with Forever.
Forever. Yeah, it was. It was good. Very good story. I again wish that the digital version had all those footnotes because I think they made a big difference. I was not able to read a version with the footnotes, but that's it. Overall, pretty good.
Yeah, I feel like this wasn't as strong as the front half, but I liked it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
As far as like Avengers stories go, this one's pretty darn good. I like this one a lot. Yeah. I'm happy with it.
And it's funny, like watching like movies like Into the Spider-Verse. like obviously it's not exactly like something like that, but it's funny how much a movie like that which just is just casually crazy with alternate timelines and just characters that are just popping in from alternate realities, and it's not a big deal.
I'd be curious to know what the first time alternate dimensions or alternate timelines was like put forth, the idea in comics anywhere.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it's just like this. I mean, a story like this is a very ambitious story. I feel like, especially, it's trying to clean up a lot of Avengers history, which I think I think it goes a little overboard with some of it.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a strength while also being a weakness. Like, it's super impressive, but I don't know that it makes for the best storytelling.
Yeah, but I think the fun part is, the last 3 or 4 issues and the first 2 or 3 issues where it's just to have this, different alternate dimension, alternate time characters all, joining together and fighting and having this adventure, across time, things like that. You don't really need to know, like, now in Thor number 285, Terminus battled so and so. It's like, I really don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My
only issue is like the characters kind of seemed like didn't develop really enough for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about, it didn't matter which Avengers really were there.
No. There's 2 Hank Pyms, but that doesn't really come into play.
It really didn't.
And they have a line in like issue 10 or 11 that it's just like, oh, we all have a little bit of Destiny Force because we're close to Rick. And it's like, okay, Cap is close to Rick. Jan and Hank are close to Rick. What about the rest of y'all?
Yeah.
Because Hulk is close to Rick, right? Hulk's
like Hulk would make sense. Like, I guess, Captain Marvel makes sense, but like the rest, Songbird doesn't really make sense. And yeah, it doesn't.
Well, she's dating Captain Marvel when he's bonded to Rick Jones.
Okay. And then Hawkeye doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were better choices within the truth of the world, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, they don't really get a chance to develop, and they don't have any sort of personal goals or personal stake. It's all larger picture, bigger plot without a whole lot of micro plot.
Yeah.
But still, I think we're done with Avengers forever. I do recommend the Captain Marvel series that spawned out of this by Peter David. I think it ran for like 30 issues or something. Mm-hmm. I thought it was really good, a really fun read. And at this point, you kind of have an idea of what's going on, but the tone is just super different.
Yeah. And this also hints at the Supreme Intelligence gets the Forever Crystal, which he uses to evolve the Kree into what is, I forget what the
Inhumans?
There's a space crossover that happens. It might be Maximum Security, or there's a space crossover in like 2000 or 2001. After Supreme Intelligence. That's the other thing that I like about this story, is that both Kang and Supreme Intelligence help the Avengers, and like both of them are going to turn on them like the next time they can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Don't want Supreme Intelligence. So let's get on to Secret Wars. We finished reading all 12 issues of the last time. We didn't really have a lot of time to decompress. I think we were tired and sleepy. Unlike tonight, we have energy. So, Secret Wars. Was it good as Marvel's first big event?
No. No.
It was actually better than what I had been told it was.
It was like fun. It was like silly fun. It got a little boring in the middle. Yeah. But as a tool to sell action figures, man, I thought that worked great.
Okay, so comparing this also to Crisis on Infinite Earths.
They're just different. You can't even compare them.
I know. I mean, my all my criticism of Crisis on Infinite Earths, where they were just telling the same story like the same story every issue, which, to be fair, I think Secret Wars was, especially during the middle. It just felt like it really was spinning its wheels, and then it put like a ton of plot in the last 2 issues. But I wasn't frustrated by Secret Wars, and that's probably because it wasn't so dense, and it seemed it just kind of breathed.
Well, it also like gave a lot of different characters, a lot of space to breathe, and a lot of different things to do. So even if we were repeating the same thing over and over again, we were at least just seeing different characters do it, and like, okay, we're fighting the villains, and now this guy's hurt, and we gotta, and like just little details.
It did things like, well, I mean, it also has characters that I already know a little better, so I'm like, I bonded to it in that regard. But then even like characters I didn't know at all, like Claw and Lizard, like came out really fun on the other side.
Yeah. That's to me, like I've read, like Marvel: The Untold Story is very negative about Secret Wars. I think mostly because of Jim Shooter, who was the editor-in-chief at the time of Marvel, and was basically like, this book is selling great. So, basically if you are a writer at Marvel and like you are, if your book is late or you are demanding special treatment, but you're not hitting your deadlines, like get your shit together. Like I can hit my deadlines and I'm putting out Secret War also. But it's like, look, I mean, on the other hand, it's like, this is not a book that is, as a writer going to tax, a comic book writer.
No.
I think it's but I think it's better than what my impression going in was, because I think the villains are pretty well written. Like there's characters that are strongly developed.
Yeah, Doctor Doom's goals are pretty clear.
Yeah, and so you actually do like the characters, and so even though it is like, is it written for like 10-year-olds? Yes. And so it is not like great literature or anything. It's very silly in parts, but
I wanted it to be sillier.
I'm just thinking about this because we're about to lead into the X-Men epilogue with Colossus, and I'm thinking about Colossus's character arc. Like, he definitely had his own story, but really from issue 2 or 3, as soon as he meets the alien, he's like, oh my god, I'm in love with this alien. Oh, I feel bad about Kitty. And it is the same thing every single issue until the very end, where he's just like, oh, I'm in love with this alien lady. Oh, I feel bad about Kitty.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And it doesn't change. It doesn't grow. Nothing ever comes of it except for the end when the alien dies.
And you can definitely tell a little bit. I mean, and I guess we'll talk about it in the issue a little bit, that I think Chris Claremont is a little bit resentful that somebody else is playing with his toys.
Yeah.
I think he handled that one way better, though. So if we're going to go into Uncanny, I guess. What I liked about... What I got frustrated, and you can probably go back in the recording so you can hear, is me just frustrated. Like, I don't think Colossus would just, like, abandon Kitty like that unless there's, like, some type of pheromone or something, because this doesn't make sense to me. This is stupid. And I like that Uncanny X-Men 183 is basically, as soon as Secret War is over, like, we're going to deal with this. Like, we're gonna talk this out. I'm like, this is... I appreciate Chris Claremont being like, this seems out of character, so let's unpack what happened here. Like, we could like sweep it under a rug or ignore it because she's dead. Like, who cares? We can just come back and be normal. But he doesn't. And I think that... I really like Uncanny X-Men when it's not about fights and it's just about, like, characters talking.
Yeah. Let's go back a little bit. So we are going to do Uncanny X-Men number 183. This is like right in the middle of Chris Claremont's giant, like, historic run on Uncanny X-Men. He did, like 15 years on that book, something like that?
Are we in 1984 by chance, Chris? Because they mentioned George Orwell a few times. Yeah. Okay.
And art with John Romita Jr. You've got Mohawk Storm hanging out, the best Storm. And it just, like, instantly, first thing you see is Kitty and Colossus sitting on a hill, just, like, talking it out. And you're like, whoa, this is not really how I expected any superhero comics to start. But it does great.
It does great, and it has Kitty like saying what she thinks is the right thing, and then completely contradicting, like, and showing what her real feelings are in her thought balloons. Like, it's okay. I'm sure you loved her. It's like, why the fuck did I say that? Like, I want him. Like, it's really well done. It's a really good breakup scene.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I've said in the past that, like, I do kind of miss thought bubbles because I think they can be useful in some scenes, and, like, this is what I mean, that it's just, like, it can be useful, and, like, you can convey, and the art does it, too, where it's just, like, you've got Kitty saying, well, I always want what's best for you, and then you've got, like, both in what, you know, you look at her face and in what she's thinking, and she's just like, ugh.
Yeah, there's not many times I'll say that I really like John Romita Jr.'s art, but he does a good job here.
Yeah.
Actually, he's really good in the 80s in general. But
yeah, this was like the peak of his style to me. Like when his Amazing Spider-Man run and on this was like, it was like a good balance of copying his dad and finding his own style before it got too blocky.
Yep.
Yeah. So after all the breakup stuff happens, Wolverine says, all right, bub, we're going to go out for a drink. And they go to a bar in New York, right? They're out in Westchester, but I guess they have to drive to a New York bar.
I think it's funny that I forget that, like, oh yeah, Wolverine was also on this trip with Colossus.
Oh, yeah.
Like, was Storm there too?
Yeah.
Okay, Storm was in a Secret War. I can't even remember. We just finished it. Okay.
Yeah, she was mad that Professor X was like constantly being like, X-Men, do this, do that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like
I'm in charge, Professor. I got this. So they go out drinking. Nightcrawler tags along because he doesn't want Wolverine hurting Colossus or anything. He's got to play mediator. And they go to a bar. They're hanging out. They're talking. And guess who shows up? Oh, no. It is the Juggernaut.
And apparently the drinking age was still, you could still drink it in your teens.
Oh, yeah. They card Colossus. And he says, hey, I'm almost 20. Which I'm like, huh? That doesn't work. But Wolverine smells Juggernaut, and he says, oh, boy, we got to get out of here quietly and not make a scene. So he orders his big tough friend to go outside in the middle of an argument with him. And I'm sure that'll work fine, right? Yeah. No, they make a scene. They get thrown into the guy. The guy spills his beer, punches Colossus. Oh, no, that guy's Juggernaut. And they have a big old fight. Good stuff. Good stuff. But they do hash it out, and just like, man, you're just acting like a stupid kid. You're following your dingus around, trying to do whatever it tells you instead of using your brain, caring about Kitty. But he's like, hey, what do you want me to do, man? That's how I feel. And that's it.
Yep, and I love, too, because Nightcrawler's like, we gotta help him. And Wolverine literally just lights up a cigarette and is like, nah, let's wait and see if he gets hurt.
Oh, yeah, I was going to kick his ass anyways. Now he's going to do it for me. That's pretty good. I did wish there was a little bit more, I don't know. I guess I don't know what I wanted the resolution to be. I think I wanted them to just completely retcon that and put them back together and be like, oh, geez, it was pheromones. They've worn off now. I'm healed. I'm back to my senses. But no, we didn't get anything like that. Disappointing.
It's a good fight, too. Juggernaut literally picks up the entire bar and smashes Colossus with it.
Oh, that's right. I couldn't tell what was going on there for a second because he just so completely smashes it over him that Colossus is engulfed, with the exception of his arm that's sticking out. I thought his arm had gotten cut off for a second or something. I don't really think I have much else to say about it. I really did enjoy this issue, though.
And then Juggernaut, literally, because he's like, I like this bar, so if you see the owner, here, and then just throws cash at Wolverine.
That was nice of him. Very nice of him to offer up cash in exchange for destruction. That's the good thing about America. If you do crimes, you can pay for them with money. Good stuff. All right. So Vince, did you have anything to say about?
No, I mean,
X-Men?
I thought it was good. I've been pleased with these kind of low key. I think we're always reading like the
No,
in between.
Loki wasn't in this.
Yeah, that's a Vince joke. I like these kind of low key in between the major event stories, because we've read a few of these now for Uncanny X-Men. Like I think we read the Kitty fights the alien during Christmas one. It was in between two big stories. I like this. It's fun.
Yep. Great. We'll probably maybe do more of those. I think they'd be good.
Yeah. Bye,
Holy,
Secret
Chris
Wars.
Claremont. Yeah. Bye, Secret Wars. We're out of here. So next time we need a new. Boy, we just finished a 2-parter. We finished a big old 12/13-parter with Secret Wars. We got some new stuff to read. Let's switch back over to DC, huh?
Mm-hmm.
You may have heard of a little movie called Endgame coming out, based on Batman Endgame. Yeah, we're reading it.
Yeah, we're not
Batman,
reading. We're reading Batman Endgame.
Wait, isn't it not the same thing?
No, so we didn't read Batman Forever. We read Avengers Forever. And now we're not
when Batman Forever came out.
And now we're not covering Avengers Endgame. We're covering Batman Endgame.
I see.
Got it.
Okay.
Good.
What is Batman Endgame? When did it come out?
It came out. It's 2014. I want to say.
Very.
Yeah, it's part of the New 52 Batman. So Batman, the volume 2011, issues 35 to 40. We talked a bit about Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's run during our Detective Comics 1000 a few episodes ago. And so I wanted to go back and just check out some of the big episodes of that. So this is a big Joker story where Joker does something so big that Batman even has to team up with all the supervillains to face.
Whoa, sounds like the end of the game.
Yeah, it's the end of the game.
Yeah.
It just, I was reading Batman White Knight, which came out like last year, and it was reminding me of Endgame. So I was like, let's read Endgame, because based on the title, it's fun. It's
Great.
6 issues, 35 to 40 from not the most recent Batman volume that's currently running, but the one from the New 52. So Batman 2011 should be all on DC Universe, I believe. I have a trade of it though, so.
Great. And then for our one issue at a time monthly thing, we are reading All-Star Superman, finally. Yeah, by Grant Morrison. Kind of a weird thing they tried, where it was like a very one-and-done issues, and its own kind of timeline, its own thing, its own universe, just telling some Superman stories. Yeah, I'm very excited to get into that. I really loved the first few issues, and for whatever reason, I just never went back to finish reading All-Star Superman.
Really?
I definitely read all of it. I don't think I appreciated what Morrison was trying to achieve at the time, because I'm not the hugest Morrison fan, but I think just like a good classic done-in-one Superman stories might be really good for us, because we've been doing like these like long events over a year.
Yeah.
So like
done-in-ones are good.
Just to be able to focus on like a good solid Superman story that they build on each other, but I think that'd be good. And I haven't read it in a long time, and this will hopefully open up the floodgates for us to cover All-Star Batman and Robin.
No,
Hell yeah.
All right, so next time, Batman Endgame, 6-issue miniseries from 2014, and All-Star Superman #1. That was in.
Get to work, Frank Miller and Jim Lee. Finish that book.
You cowards.
We should mention the artist on All-Star Superman, Frank Quitely. Very, very good artist. Good stuff. You may have seen that cover of the first issue of Superman, like sitting in a cloud, looking back, smiling, looking like a sweet boy. Aw, what a sweet
boy. So definitely, Endgame is on DC Universe if you guys have it.
The Marvel movie?
Oh yeah!
Wow!
What a coup! What a coup!
All right. I hope to see you all next time in this weird universe we live in, where the DC Universe app has somehow gained exclusive rights to Marvel movies. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Vince.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chris.
You're also welcome.
Well, thank you. And I'm Kia. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time. Love you. Bye.